Hello everyone, good evening. WWW equals 5R, the 5R of waste management. And our speakers with us. Hello, Hamsa. Are you able to hear? No?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you able to hear? I can hear you too. Thank you. Welcome. And yes, you look cheerful, so don't worry. Hamsa is not feeling a little well, so she was concerned, but she's looking cheerful and fit and fine. And we shall all try to cheer you
Perfect.
up, okay?
Perfect.
Don't worry. So let us give a little brief about why do we have Wednesdays for Waste Warriors? Because My Waste, My Responsibility is a group, a citizens group, and we have more than 200 members from more than maybe 25, 30 cities. And they are all very concerned and passionate about waste management because the situation is appalling in every city, every nook and corner. And so everyone who's really concerned has joined, and we keep discussing solutions, what can be replicated, what is good here, what doesn't fit here, what are the possible workable, affordable solutions. So those are the kind of discussions we have, and then we thought that we have so many experts. Let's just start meeting them, knowing them, and then getting others to know them better. And that's how we started WWW equals 5R, and then we started in Feb, and this is the last session in Feb. And Hamsa, you are our guest. Thank you very much for joining. And a little bit about Hamsa. She lives in Pune and has been composting for about a decade, last 10 years. Through this action, she has diverted more than 5 million tons of wet waste in the last decade. Wow. Metric ton. So how do you calculate that? I will ask you that. And she works with Pro Earth, and they are working on community composting solutions. So welcome, Hamsa, and let's start. Tell us how you did.
So I really like to ask this question to a lot of people. How much kachra do you really produce that, aap itne dare hue ho for it, right? So, and most people will not give you a straight answer saying, thoda sa hoga, 1 kilo hoga, 2 kilo hoga. There's a lot of speculation around it. Statistically speaking, we all produce somewhere about 1 to 1.5 kilos, depending on seasonality. So, Tyohar ke din, there is always a little more waste, right? And if you look in even that 1 kilo of the waste that you're generating at home, and 1 kilo is generated by 4 or 5 people at home, that's about 750 grams per day. So, of 750 grams into 10 years, uh, you know, 10 into 365 crores, so that's more than 5,000 kilos that we have been able to, put away from the landfill. And we have actually consumed all of it right in our backyards. When we've had excess, we have given it to people. We have gifted it as a green Diwali gift. We now have people asking us why we've not brought Diwali gifts in the form of compost, right? So where people were questioning ki ye kyun tum compost de rahe ho, to now saying, hey boss, where is my compost? Yearly compost has to come from you, right? So that's the shift that has sort of happened in the last 10 years. And it's very convenient. Once you're used to it, no, you're like a dustbin-free household because you don't have to get into a fight with your partner in terms of kachra kaun niche jaake dalne wala hai. There's a lot of convenience to it. There's more. I would say there's more happiness to a marriage because you're composting your wet waste right in your backyard. So that to me is like a clear takeaway when it comes to convenience of composting. And I think when you connect with soil, there's another innate, deeper connection that you sort of, spark within yourself. You're much happier. You have a lot of those good hormones coming in when you're connected with soil. So, anybody and everybody should do it, not just women. Even men go through hormonal phases. So, we should also very happily tell them to do it. And the joy is just fantastic. It's not something that you can go to a supermarket and just get that back from you. It's not one of those things. You have to do it to get it. So that's the beauty of composting for me.
I totally agree because we always saw our mom composting, so we've been like, used to it for years. It was not called composting then, it was just like पेड़ पौधों को आप खाद दे रहे हो, पेड़ पौधों को आप खाना दे रहे हो, आपने खाना खा लिया, अब उनके खाना खाने
Yeah,
का टाइम
yeah,
है. It's like that. So that was a very natural way of getting accustomed to it and implementing unknowingly, subconsciously कि ये तो
yeah,
मुझे भी करना ही है. And you know so my mom is someone like, वो जब बाहर से आती है ट्रैवल करके, so सबसे पहले दरवाजा गेट का खुलेगा, दरवाजा खुलने के बाद सूटकेसेस बैग्स अंदर जाएंगे, शी विल रश टू द बाथरूम, ब्रिंग हर बाल्टी एंड स्टार्ट वाटरिंग हर प्लांट्स. यू नो दैट इज द थिंग कि मुझे खाना मत दो बट मेरे प्लांट्स को पानी चाहिए, उनको खाद चाहिए, उनको वो चाहिए. सो दैट इज व्हाट आई आल्सो अंडरस्टैंड एंड इट्स रियली रियली, आई हैव नॉट कैलकुलेटेड इट कि कितने मीट्रिक टन हुआ है, बट आई हैव अ गार्डन एंड आई हैव बीन कंपोस्टिंग जब से मैं वापस आई हूँ, इवन इन द यूएस, एंड आई थिंक इट
yeah,
इज रियली वेरी
yeah.
therapeutic, very therapeutic. You just have so much peace and you just are happy when you see, now I have my palak growing and they are like this long and I'm like talking to them, yes palak, thank you so
Yeah,
much for growing. So it's an amazing feeling. I understand that and many
yeah,
also
absolutely. Everybody joined the
I
party,
agree.
right? So, and I also think that it's very, sometimes we get very selfish and say that the next generation should do it, but I don't think they should inherit this waste problem for us. I probably look at waste that was generated by my
Yeah,
grandparents or my great grandparents. It's very disgusting to see that it's still around. I would not want my children, my nieces, nephews, or anybody to want to come and look at that. And to expect that they will do it when we are not doing it, right? So that there's a problem there. You're breaking a link and you're asking them to take the onus of creating that link. So that's just not fair. So
that's not, totally agree with you. And like you said, our grandparents and our great grandparents, they did not actually create any waste
yeah,
because they had the most
yeah,
sustainable lives. And here we are, I guess when we were in school, that Maggie was introduced and that
starting
was
point.
the invasion of plastic. Yes. So it started in our school time. So we can't even blame our seniors. It's our lifetime and we must do some solutions in our lifetime
Yeah,
so that we can make it better and cleaner
yeah.
for our children. So tell me, how did you were composting as on an individual level, and then how did you get started working
So
in the same field? That's really an
yeah,
amazing
yeah. So see
thing.
what has happened over the last decade is that because I post a lot about it, because I talk a lot about it, a lot of people came in and started asking in terms of oh, so you compost, we also want to do it. But they struggle, वो commitment नहीं है. Many times people also come in and say, नहीं, I'm the only one doing it. It gets very overwhelming. So apart from a home composting solution, you also need very workable community composting solutions. So that way you're
Yes.
actually covering everybody in a building. And right now the bylaws across every municipal corporation, or even in some gram panchayats, are saying very clearly that everybody's waste is their responsibility, primarily wet waste, because that has to be composted in their backyards. And while there are many challenges that we need to address in that, community composting can really, really be a great activity for getting people together, which is today not happening in societies. And use that as an anchor to get people to participate more. It is frustrating. It is difficult to get 100 percentage of people segregating and their waste coming to composting, but there's a lot of fun in it, which I don't think makes it to the news or makes it to limelight. In fact, we've also done a couple of projects where garbage chutes in a particular building have been shut down, and we've converted those garbage chute rooms into composting spaces. And if you ask me, you will not even know where these spaces are, because it's like आपको उसकी बदबू ही नहीं आ रही है. So that's the other thing that most people talk about composting, right? Oh, will it smell? The first question that is not asked about is, oh,
Yes.
is it affordable, or oh, ये कहाँ लगाना है? It's always about, oh, will it smell? Because people have experienced that things get smelly, then others will start going cow cow about it. They will not be very supportive in your journey. And I think there's a little bit of perspective that needs to be bought here. Home composting and community composting are two different systems. You cannot do community composting the way you do at home. At home, you will never find
Yeah.
1 liter purana basi dal being kept outside in your dustbin. Okay, you will never find that. But when you're living in an apartment, when you're looking at a 100 flat society, when you're looking at a 500 flat society, you find all sorts of nonsense that is coming in. Okay, so even the way in which you look at these systems will have to be thought of. And I think that's very important while designing and while, looking at community composting.
Yeah. I have dealt with that question ki, oh, it smells, it doesn't. I have been composting, it
Yeah.
has not smelled ever. So, another friend of mine who does wonderful composting has always told me कि वो first sign है
Yeah.
अगर वो अच्छे तरीके से compost हो रहा है तो उसमें smell ही नहीं आएगी, no stinky thing and all that. So I've never experienced, we have two dogs and they are always in that balcony. Never have they ever gone and
Yeah.
like searched through the compost ka the bucket or done any ransacking or anything. So it all those myths have to be
Absolutely.
busted, and I guess people have to start talking about the good personal experiences. So I think we will be
Yeah.
talking about the good
Yeah.
and the bad also. So tell me, if you want to tell people, like there are many people who are like, I don't have a green thumb, I can't start planting. And to that, my mom is like, there is nothing called green thumb. All you need is a dedicated heart and a a willingness that I want to have a garden. I wish to have a garden. So it's simply as simple as that. That you want to compost and you will think of ways or learn to compost. So what will your step one, step two, step three, the basic simple DIY kind of thing that
So
you
for
can tell
home
everyone?
composting, here's what I tell people. Try to do it in a small old plastic jar. एक दिन का आप करो ना. Just do for 1 day and tell me whether it is troublesome. And you reach out to us if you want, some troubleshooting helps or whatever. वो एक दिन का thing will compost down into about 20-21 days. And you will see that if you have an eggshell put into it, it will not break down in 21 days. You will see that different things in nature take different time. So you will learn to be patient.
Yeah,
If you put in a watermelon without enough, dry leaves or cocoa peat into it, it's your invitation to call unwanted people for a party, right? So,
yeah,
so you learn because you observe, you understand it. We're in this time where, we just want to put tish, and then you just want the final result. This is not a process which is about that. It's about letting nature, it's about working with nature, it's about, finding a rhythm between you and your compost bin. And it's much easier to find a rhythm with a compost bin than a newborn baby. Okay, like that much I can I can tell you. Similarly, if you're looking at a community composting thing, please visit your vendors' existing projects. Speak to existing customers of theirs, and very honestly ask them, पिछले 1 साल में कितने बार बास आया? People don't know this recce. They, very short-sightedly say, "Oh, कचरा की गाड़ी 1,000 रुपए में लेके जाती है. आप 1,200 में कर रहे हो तो आप कर दो चलेगा because it's just about cost to cost. It's not about that. Composting in your backyard will cost you, but it will cost you pittance money. It's barely 150 rupees that a society of you say 150 flats will have to come and shell together. 150 में तो मतलब दो टाइम का सब्जी और फ्रूट्स भी नहीं आएगा. It's not even that. I will go one additional step. If a woman buys disposable sanitary pads, that itself costs far more.
yeah,
So this is basic. This is essential. And there's a lot of convenience. Please also highlight convenience. Everybody gets stuck only on that cost. Your dustbins don't smell. Your backyards are not,
yeah,
filled up or piled up with volumes of waste. You don't have to, sit and break your head with any municipal vehicle saying, "Oh, when will you collect? When will you collect?" And fourth is you're independent. You don't need anybody's external help. I mean, we're all about Atmanirbhar and everything, right? So this is the very easy way to be Atmanirbhar. right in our backyards. So I would.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And when exactly, like you said, individual like home composting is very different from the community composting. So let's say you talked about the home composting. Now अगर कोई community है society की उनके पास let's say 100 flats हैं या 500 flats हैं, so how different will that kind of composting
So
experience
So
be for
इसमें
them?
there are two, three dynamics. One is availability of space because, in cities, space is money, and very often that gets undercut. We have to reimagine spaces that perhaps builders have not thought, developers have not thought. And we've also sort of brought it down to a very simple design element. We said that, for composting 1 kg of wet waste every day, we only need 5 square feet of space in your backyard. Now, if you know this requirement right at the start, and you need not have like a fancy facility, okay, you need not think of something like which looks wow or amazing. It's very simple, very basic, very robust. You don't want it to fall short on. You look at maybe along the compound walls where construction costs can be low, where space utilization can be way better. Most people like to put their compost bins far, far away that nobody can see, and I really find it very amusing because according to me, you're actually proving to the world that you've taken care of your waste right at the doorstep. So think of it as a space where you would want to come through. One of our customers has their composting space right at their doorstep, and every evening, all the elderly people in the society come have a gala time there because it's become that beautiful, that aesthetics. And aesthetics also needn't cost you an arm and a leg,
Nice.
right? So it's all about coming together. And if you look at it that way, then every investment is very, very small in that space. The second piece is to understand ये जो technology के नाम पे जो solutions आते हैं, right? So which is like my favorite subject these days because everybody says, oh, let me put all your wet waste into this one machine and then आपको कल सुबह compost मिल जाएगा. The only technology that can do that, it's a cow. Please buy a cow for your community. You will get your 24-hour compost right in your backyard. Okay. So, so it's like you're saying that eggshells also become compost in 24 hours. It doesn't work like that. Banana peels also will take at least 2 days, 3 days to break down, right? Um, so we need to talk more about what really works and what doesn't work. And यहाँ पे in the market today, there's a very complex problem. Somebody's been sold a machine which really costs an arm and a leg. Okay, like kidney उससे ज़्यादा सस्ते में मिल जाएगा. It's that gravitational, right? And people are like, no, you make this technology work. How do you make a technology that doesn't work? It's not possible. So much so that companies have shut down and people are not giving service. So it's a very complex problem. And it's also more difficult in a society because everybody's volunteering their time to just keep the society records going, right? So it's not like कि कोई इंस्ट्रक्शन बुक देके आप IKEA का कुछ सेटअप कर रहे हो घर पे. It's not like that. So um, and none of our projects are shut down. That's the other thing that I want to say. All these guys who say machines, etc., etc., they're all shutting down. They're not working, and people are very angry. So so we have to understand and you have to see what technology is actually working. So that's why I keep saying, आप जाके site देखिए, आप go talk to a couple of the solution providers, customers, see what is happening, talk to them, visit them maybe 2 3 times. It's really worth that time and effort if you're looking at a very long term
Yeah.
solution. And then you'll realize that the simpler things actually does not cost much at all. So yeah.
Yeah. Agree. And I have a residential society close by, and I know that they had a big huge composting machine that was given by the builder. So I just went to have a look, and I wouldn't name the maker, but it's a pretty like huge setup, and it's a Pune based
Yeah,
company.
yeah,
I'm sure you know
absolutely.
about it.
Many of them.
and the
So
and the people and the people they put their stuff there, but they don't use the compost from there because it all comes out burnt. So then they throw it outside. So it's like, you're holding your ear like this, and then you're doing something,
Yeah,
some kind of a
yeah, yeah.
complicated thing. And it's a waste of installation. The builder has given them inbuilt, तो उनको use करना है. But they can have something कि आप उसका setting change कर लो. There is always some
So,
kind of a remediation, but they would
yeah.
not. All right. So it's like a situation where there is a system. We are composting, so they have that feel good thing that they are composting. It all gets burnt, so none of it is used and it's thrown out. So it's a waste of electricity.
So
Just imagine.
it's also more than that, right? So for me, I know about this machine. I know what it does, and we've had very angry people who have then, of course, become good potential customers because now they know not to believe in any of this technology stuff. Um, There's also ash residue, which is very difficult to get rid of. And I think this is something that most people don't understand. Ash is classified as hazardous waste in the municipal system, and it is not easy to, sort of put it anywhere. And more often than not, these machines do one thing very, very, I would say criminal. People end up putting all sorts of things inside it because you are not pushing people to segregate at source. Because सभी तो ऐश बन रहा है ना तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है किसी का डायपर है वो भी डाल दो किसी
Yes,
का प्लास्टिक बॉटल है वो भी डाल दो सम स्विगी कंटेनर व्हिच हैज नॉट बीन वॉश्ड वो भी डाल दो सो वो एश भी आप सॉइल में नहीं डाल सकते हो देयर सो मच ऑफ अदर केमिकल्स इन इट देन यू हैव टू पे समबडी टू गेट रिड ऑफ इट इट्स नॉट कन्वीनियंट एट ऑल अगर कोई भी बोल रहा है ना कि ये कन्वीनियंट है सो इट्स नॉट कन्वीनियंट नॉट वन बिट
and that's the reason people are off
या
composting, because
या
they think it's a very complicated process. Oh my goodness, please don't
या
talk about it. We don't want to do that. Just imagine, so there is another problem I've seen in a close by society which has like 500 plus houses. So they make half compost. They are saying that we are making half compost, and then we are sending it out to for it to become full compost. That's again a very scammy kind of a thing. And I thought I would ask
So,
you, what is this
so
concept of half
we call
compost?
this as pre-compost in very technical terms. Okay, so imagine your compost cycle takes about 60 to 90 days, depending on whether for it to become compost, right? So, which means that composting में ना three phases होते हैं. The most critical part in that is thermophilic phase, which is where there's a lot of heat that is generated, and the temperature goes up as high as 60 to 70 degrees, sometimes even more. And at this stage, there's a lot of pathogens that have, sort of get killed in the process because of these high temperatures. At the end of the stage, if you pull out that waste in whatsoever form, this is called pre-compost. When you see that earthy smell that you get in compost, that's when compost is done. Okay. And for you to
Mm-hmm.
do this thermophilic to that, you need to set aside some time. ये जो problem है pre-compost का, it primarily comes because people don't account for space. They will have a huge machine that has taken about 400 square feet of space, and they will have about 500 odd flats or 300 odd flats which are subject to this. So the space to the waste ratio just doesn't work, and that's something that we are increasingly telling people. We're even talking to developers, we're even talking to builders, saying, don't do this. Don't create a mess here because you can just in half or probably much lesser because they're already constructing. There is already a lot of construction material available. Just construct pits and start a service which is very robust. It need not even be us. We are not saying that we necessarily need the service project, but find somebody who can actually do it scientifically, and that's really really important. Don't look at somebody who will suddenly discontinue
Yeah.
saying आज labor नहीं था madam तो नहीं हुआ, so that's why it's smelling, that's why it's stuck. Or don't throw something out in a neighboring plot because nobody's staying there. So that's how we are managing. And these are practical realities around composting. So figure out, attend a couple of places where you actually see systems that are working. And if you do that, then it's very easy. So what happens in this pre-composting thing is somebody is now charging you one for putting stuff inside that machine, pulling it out, packing it, and then it has to go and to be processed because it has to be cured somewhere for it to start smelling earthy. So आप फिर say you're
Yeah.
transporting or say you're moving stuff from point A to point B and
Yeah.
wet waste को क्यों transport करना है? It is so beautiful wherever it is once it is compost right in that backyard. So we have to think differently.
Yeah, I totally I agree with you because I cannot understand why should wet waste be collected from homes or from any place. It should just be. It is a kind of resource that has to be processed at
Yeah,
whichever site it is. So the wet waste
just should
collection should
stop. Yeah,
absolutely stop, and it should, yeah, we have to maybe collectively go to all municipal corporations or write to them or do some meeting and tell them that
mm,
this is not happening. Recently I attended a session that was the person who started the Vengurla model, and he said that we told them about segregation starting at 4 levels, and then we did 27 types of segregation, and everything was just processed on site. And then they got awards, and people from abroad were coming to their PhD on this model and all of that. So one person who really has the willingness and intent to make the change, he knows that it
yeah.
doesn't cost you anything. It in fact brings you so much. He said, "Ghan kachra nahi, dhan kachra bolo." In Marathi, the wet waste and solid waste is called ghan kachra. So he said it is dhan kachra because it's going to give you money. When you make the compost, you can sell it for 50 rupees a kg. That's what
Yeah,
people don't
yeah,
understand. So we have to also start
mhm,
brainwashing about looking at
yeah.
waste कि as a chi rather than मतलब looking at it as a resource कि black gold जब हम कहते हैं, why aren't people attracted towards black gold? It's
So
like for the lovers of gold it should
yeah,
be like,
so there's one very interesting thing that one of our customers did. Rather than asking people for processing fees, कि आपको wet waste को अपने backyard में compost करने के लिए आपको 120 रुपए देना पड़ेगा per month per flat. आपको हर महीने 3 किलो of compost आपके backyard में पहुंच जाएगा. It will be home delivered to you. The sign in that came in on saying that we are actually paying for 3 kilos of compost, because today if you go to a nursery and buy 1 kilo of compost, it's nothing less than 70 to 80 rupees. This is half the price, right? So even managing committees presenting it to their other members makes a huge difference. Rather than saying it all the time कि PMC का notice आया है, PCMC का notice आया है, गाड़ी नहीं आने वाली है. Can we think of interesting ways to create a buy-in from members? Can we include children to be part of harvesting cycles? Why not give them the fun part of this? Now, why tell them कि आप ये problem solve करोगे बड़े हो जाने के बाद? Let them enjoy the solution a bit. Uske bina, how do you create an attraction to black gold? I mean, the other thing that I always wonder is, can enough of black gold from the city be given to a farmer, and the farmer gives us the fruits of that compost? And we're not doing enough in this space. Um, Farmers need compost at
you may
really odd cycles through the year. With climate change now being more and more drastic, requirement to sequester carbon in soil is even more important. And uh,
yeah,
I read this very nice statistic that for nature to create and sequester carbon on its own through her cycles, it will take about 6 years. But half a kilo of compost in that soil will do that in 6 months. That's the power. That's the magic of compost, and it's just wow. It's like you're helping um you're helping the planet heal on a very different level. So so once you see that connection is there, 100 रुपया, 150 रुपया, 200 रुपया, 1000 रुपया, and all this all just, I mean, it's like it just doesn't make sense on me. So
doesn't, yeah. Just imagine when we are saying that our rivers are polluted, people are burning kachra, so our air is polluted, and it's all connected to waste management or mismanagement. So the farmers, they are using pesticides, and that pesticides is they're all seeping into the groundwater, And if there is any groundwater remaining, because most of the places has no
Yeah.
groundwater, but then the same polluted rivers are feeding us. So what we are,
What we're
the
putting is
pollution
coming
that
back.
is going in the form of pesticide is coming back in your plate. That is a very simple thing. Even Dinanath Mangeshkar Hospital Oncology Department has done research on this. Why are some sectors in villages? Okay, there are cancer specialty hospitals now, like 4 or 5. Why? Because they have stomach cancers, they have lung cancers, they have all sorts of
Yeah.
skin cancers, kidney ailments, because of the pollution and the pesticides. So if you are giving compost, say you don't have a garden, okay, you can give 50 kg bags, 100 kg bags from each society, send it to the nearest village. That's like a
Yeah.
community
Yeah.
service, you know. Everyone wants to do something for the earth, and then आपको claim करना है, like you claim tax rebate, you can actually be proud and claiming कि मैंने कुछ तो एक 0 point something
किया
something
है.
percent मैंने अर्थ को अच्छा करने में मदद. That's such a big crown
Yeah.
on your head. And by, you have to just make sure people
No, and
start
people
thinking
change
like that.
after they have done this cycle. I have seen that. In the last 10 years, I have had so many people who come and told me, we met you at a certain place and we saw how you did that. And it was so simple. And after I've done that, I can't go back to, polluting the planet. It's not possible because एक बार उसका चस्का लग गया. It's like a different, अलग ही level का नशा है एक तो. And it's also not possible for you to be okay with what's happening around you. वो भी होता है, both the shifts happen. Like in case of you, in case of me, that's very obvious. There's no going back. Yeah.
It's actually so annoying, you know. The moment I see the piece and I see the thing, I already have a plan. How is it going to be and where is it going to be?
To
Which
go,
bucket is
yeah,
it going to? You know, you start making all those. And the simple things like people cutting the packet in a wrong way. Her cheese, when you become, I think when you become
yeah.
organic, mentally,
That
physically, and
shift just
it just
happens.
is like
Yeah,
a spiritual
absolutely,
experience.
absolutely.
Ah, so you don't react, you just respond to everything. You are mindful of everything, whatever happens. Kachre, there's no kachra. Your banana peel also comes back in your pocket, everything comes back in your pocket. And I guess I am enjoying that, and I know that you are also very happy doing what you do. So how can we have more, like, there's a question actually, let me ask that question. Cheshta is asking, how do you motivate or ask people to segregate? I have had problems with
So it's
that.
very, I've done two things, and I will talk about experiences from both, which I hope will give you a response there. I've helped put a system in our society where we are a 30 plot society, and every plot is like a sub society in itself. And we identified key people who others listen to, and we got them on board as the first task. So sometimes when they said it, it made all the difference. Sometimes when I said it as an outside person, it made all the difference. Sometimes when the waste picker said it and we put a video of her saying "Aaj kya hai," even that made a difference. Okay, so it's really about understanding which uncle, which auntie you're okay to pick a battle with, and how you want to target that. Because we do this every day in and out, as a service, we realize that while the first method is something that we all like to do, it's very cheap, it's very interesting. It's not, it gets very exhausting for those 3 or 4 people who put in that effort because they get cast aside. They don't, and if you're one of them, you've also probably experienced that, yeah. So you're like the black sheep because uh, बाकी कोणाला काही त्रास नाहीये, who's this person, why is she talking about it, and no, all of that will happen. As a service provider, what we do is we just put in like a system. So, and we help the managing committee draft a series of communication right from the first letter to posters to household fridge magnets types, where you can just visually see that on terms of how you should segregate. And that's also something you can do at a personal level. But at a personal level, we realize वो थोड़ा मुश्किल होता है for people to adopt. I don't know where there is a barrier. So when we give that, then suddenly segregation levels start going up. We also tell people that don't expect a miracle overnight. It will not happen. For if you are at 20% segregation level today in your building of 100 flats, for you to get to 100%. Please give 6 months time. People are suddenly they have been asked a gear change. It is not easy. It is not overnight होने वाला चीज नहीं है. It takes time. You have to go tell them. बार बार awareness program करना पड़ता है और awareness program में सिर्फ मैं आऊँ और बात करूँ वैसा भी awareness program will not work. Okay, you have to think differently. You have to play a couple of games. You have to, maybe even play snakes and ladders differently with them, where, the snake is, a wrong based behavior and the ladder is a good based behavior. So you have to think differently. And there I feel as an expert, we are able to see that, which I was not able to see before when I was just doing home composting. So I would say that has been my journey in terms of doing that. The one common thing that has worked very well is we've always taken compost to such meetings, and we've always told them, "Batao baas kahan hai?" And we always take उस दिन का wet waste. They're saying, "आज के कचरे में तो बास नहीं आ रहा है because my wet waste is separate." So is it your dustbin that you have not cleaned for the last week? Or we start engaging with people differently. So you've got to get them to think and
Yeah.
reinforce with adults. Children, yes, it's very nice, it's very, romantic कि बच्चों के साथ होना ही चाहिए, but with adults, you're the key decision people in terms of who's putting what in your dustbin. We're all, I will say, homeowners. So work with them, find out nice ways, get the men also involved. Even the number of times men have come and told me, hey, why can't I come? Even that is, it's not like that. So we have to really get people to come together, and they're pushing constantly कि ये segregation है. हमारे staff अभी इतने smart हो गए ना. They found one small कांच का piece in the wet waste that was collected, and they took a photo and said, "Madam, please send it to customer. This is not okay." And that's empowerment. That somebody
Yeah.
whose job is to compost your wet waste is able to find a glass piece and say, "Hey, behave better because I am composting your wet waste every day. Please be mindful of that." So we have to come to that point.
Yeah, it is actually very empowering because they realize, and we are talking about every step of the society, every uh, being inclusive. There is no rich or poor or middle class in waste. Everyone
Yeah,
generates. In fact, the rich would generate more because the poor don't have so much to trash. So that's the story, of course, and poor, you can still go and talk 2 times, 3 times, and then
yeah,
they will say, "Ha ha, samajh gaya," or they will also start following that. But if you go to, societies, I know कि किस तरीके से बुरे स्टेयर्स मिलते हैं, ग्लेयर्स मिलते हैं, टोटल ऐसे ब्लैक आउट हो जाते हो आप, बॉयकॉट हो जाता है आपका. इट्स जस्ट दैट पीपल थिंक दैट, like I have heard this, you think you only talk about waste management, do you know how difficult it is? According to you it's very easy. I said yes, it is very easy. What is the
yeah.
difficulty? Please tell me, I'm happy to help. No, you won't understand, we have other things also. Society के और भी problems होते हैं. But my point was, अगर आप ये main
Back
problem solve नहीं
आते
करोगे तो
रहेंगे.
सारे
Correct,
problem
correct.
increase ही
Yeah,
होते
yeah.
हैं.
And I think it's
But
also about handholding them, right? So, for example, people get very confused once segregation comes in कि पहला क्वेश्चन होता है कोकोनट का जो हार्ड शेल होता है वो कौन से बकेट में जाता है? Old shoes, where does that go? Uh, how do you wrap a sanitary pad? How do you wrap condoms? How do you wrap, sharp objects that are now out of use? So at every step, somebody has to be there guiding them. And somebody has to be there saying, ki, look, if we need a municipal system, we will still use the municipal system. Do not think that, आप overnight पे आप umbilical cord को काट रहे हो, because municipal system is the only one that will take rejects. And mixed waste classifies it as
yeah,
reject. So, also work with that system to ease them in. It's not कि आज notice दे दिया, कल गाड़ी नहीं जा रही है, तीसरे दिन composting हो गया. It is, it's not a viable way to long-term solution. That notice is the starting point of the journey. That is how I look at it.
yeah. And I also wanted to ask you, recently, you know, the same person, the Vengurla model gentleman, was saying that composting can work when we are doing it in a space like a society or home. But when it comes to a bigger thing, like maybe a a sabzi mandi, or something like a huge wet waste generating space, then the biogas, जो पहले गोबर गैस ये सब जो होता था, that is a better option. And it gives you 3 घंटे का गैस, तो उस तरीके से भी देखो
Yeah,
तो then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
community kitchen उससे
Absolutely.
support कर सकते हैं. So it is attached to many things. So what do you think
So
about that,
I think
composting in
it's
that
very
way?
great. I will also not say that composting is the only solution in that sense if you want to look at waste management. आपके हिसाब से सोचिए, if you are a society of 500 flats and you have a nice big garden, composting is perfect for you because you will eliminate this need of buying soil. So you are actually investing that money into compost. You won't be spending on bee weeding. You won't be spending on a lot of those things. So it's a good solution for you. But say for example you are a school of 400 kids and आपके वहाँ पे you look at some kind of a meal system, something is being cooked. Then you also have an energy requirement,
Yeah.
right? So then can your waste sort of transform that? And waste need not specifically only be vegetable peels. It can also be your toilet waste that gets connected to it. In fact, you'll see that primarily even when you go back to villages, a lot of these household gobar gas plants were connected both to toilets and to the kitchen waste that was coming in. And it's actually, while communities have given that as proof, the science that we have not understood is your wet waste today differs from your wet waste tomorrow. आपके पास आज शायद शायद गोभी बनी होगी पर कल भिंडी होगी, तो आपको गैस गोभी से कितना मिलेगा और भिंडी से कितना मिलेगा will always differ. So you may get an hour's gas on, your Kobe related meal, but you may get about half an hour from your bhindi. So you need something that's keeping your system running, right? So identify that, and that's one of the reasons why biogas plants have not run and not taken off very well. Biogas plants में भी आप देखोगे तो seasonal changes में भी you have to look at different kinds of additions there. You need to add different microbes. ये घरगुती लेवल पे हमें पता है, जैसे दही अगर नहीं लगा तो आप एक और चम्मच डाल दोगे, वो लग जाएगा, राइट? सो दिस इज वेरी सिमिलर टू दैट. सो यू have to understand complexity of the situation, where what is required. Maybe a combination of processing biogas का जो the tough stuff that is there, the leftover. So if you can co-compose that, then that will also give you great results. See, every system sort of feeds into each other that way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a cycle. So, complementing and supplementing each process. So, yeah, and like there's there's a group of women in Jharkhand, and I think one of them has Manurama has joined maybe. They wanted to set up composting. They wanted to set up this as a livelihood project for the women there, so that they can utilize the wet waste and also convert it
yeah,
into a livelihood.
absolutely. And that's,
And I think that's a great,
yeah, it is,
great
it
project.
is.
So could you talk
Yeah,
about that?
yeah. So even for us, right, and I'll tell this example, which is one of the reasons that actually prompted me to join Anil. Ours is an entirely service model. We have about 15 odd people who work as compost operators. We've trained them. They're all people who were earlier working in the construction space. They're people who have not had, decent jobs before. And here we are talking about giving them ESIC, PF, and all the other social benefits that today organizations in this space are struggling to give because customers don't pay enough to cover somebody else's bread and butter. And the beauty of that has been that people have not left us. They have stayed with us during COVID because they all got paid bonuses, they all got paid their fair share. And unless you create that kind of a place for them to work, we invest a lot in safety training. See, these are very small things that people sort of don't see the value of. So आप shredder है, आप shredder use कर रहे हो, shredder में हाथ अंदर नहीं जाना चाहिए. What are the precautions you can take? There was this big case in PCMC where there was a society where the woman who was operating the shredder lost her hand. So see, these are things uh, that will secure somebody's bottom line, not just ours, somebody else's.
Yes.
And it is very, very important that we sort of look at it from that perspective. So Ask your agencies who are coming to your backyards to compost. आप क्या दे रहे हो? How are you keeping it? माणसं कुठनं आणतात? Are you bringing people for 2,000 rupees per month, 3,000 rupees per month? Or are you paying them their fair share? Um, we are willing to pay an overheads for AC for so many products that we go to buy for a mall. But when it comes to this, I don't know why that behavior, why that same ask is not there, right? And we have to change that. That systemic shift is very, very important because it is somebody's livelihood um, uh, at the end of the day.
It is. And it's very similar to or exactly the same behavior that लोग जब सड़क के दुकान से सामान लेते हैं तो वो टमाटर धनिया इवन धनिया मिर्ची में भी वो 2 रुपए 1 रुपए कम कराना चाहते हैं. But when they go to all these so-called malls and big bazaar and all these fresh stores, वहां से प्लास्टिक में पैक्ड सब्जियां आएंगी और उस पे एक्स्ट्रा होगा, लेकिन फिर भी they do not bargain, कुछ भी नहीं करते because they have no bargaining rights there. तो वो चुपचाप करते हैं, ऊपर से पार्किंग के पैसे भी देते हैं, सब कुछ करते हैं. बट एक दुकान वाला जिसको आप 5 रुपए एक्स्ट्रा दे दोगे तो उसको कितना फायदा होगा?
That purview is not there. Yes. So we've also had to handhold people in this perspective shift. That this is why it costs more. This is why it takes a little more effort on our side.
Yeah.
Hi, Kartila.
She wanted to be here for a long time. Welcome. We have a new guest. That's a compliment.
Tula namaskar to you. Yes.
So, now I'm going to ask her. आपको पता है मम्मा क्या?
One second. Let me just disconnect. ती विचारते है तुला माहिती का मी काय करते? कामात. प्रोवर्थ मध्ये काय काम करते? हाँ? काय करते? मी प्रेयर्स मध्ये. She's talking about where my husband works. आणि तो प्रोवर्थ मध्ये आम्ही काय बनवतो? ओला कचऱ्याचा? माती. Oh,
very good. Yes, you're right. बिल्कुल चेक मार्क मिल गया आपको कि आपको पता है कि मम्मा मिट्टी बना रही है ना? बहुत मम्मा.
Yeah, one sec.
हम मम्मा.
Let me just ask again.
Yes, हम मम्मा को बोलेंगे मम्मा इज अ मैजिशियन.
मैजिशियन है का? नहीं. Pandela. हाँ, earphones it. Yes. Okay.
So what would you like to tell our the moms, the youngsters, anyone who wants to start composting but doesn't have a balcony, let's say, or doesn't have a garden space? So how can they start?
हर किसी के पास हर कुछ हमेशा तो नहीं होता. If you can do something in your building basement, you can do something in your community garden. You can find spaces where all people can come together, because आज तक का मेरा ये experience रहा है कि if I have looked for trying to set up a waste management system, I've at least found one person, if not two. One person who is equally crazy about this issue in my community, wherever I'm staying. And that person is willing to, say, hey, chal, ye karte na. Let's do something together. And I think not being alone on that path is more valuable than composting sometimes because it keeps you going. It allows you to talk to somebody about a common problem that you see, which otherwise you were not seeing. Yeah. So our composter actually, we had to reset it. We had to do something. So we had to figure out what to do in those 4 days. And because we have a community composting system, I was okay. I said it's about just 4 days. Let it go. My husband got worked up and he came around and told me, "Yeah, let's fix our composter. This is so convenient to do it in our backyard." Okay. So that change happens. Just be patient. It was,
Yeah.
I would say 5 years ago, it was not like that. It was me who was saying, no, it's very convenient composting in my backyard. But now that, 8 years of marriage and, after having lived with one kid, one composter in a small apartment in Pune, it's unbelievable that shift will happen. And just be patient. Aega. Wo bhi din aega. Don't lose hope. And if you're struggling now, you
Yes.
just know that we all struggled at some point of time. We all went through it, and we are here for you to make sure that your struggle is a little less painful, jitna hamara tha. So don't worry about it at all.
Yeah. And what would you say about all these fancy ads and fancy stuff, which is like sustainable life is only affordable if you have, XYZ amount in your pocket to buy all the fancy stuff and the big tags. People have started connecting sustainability and zero waste to it's only for the rich, that kind of a thing. When actually it's the minimalistic and poor way of living. मतलब it's a simple way, headache free way of living. So ये divide को
हर कोई
कैसे
सस्टेनेबिलिटी
change करें?
अलग तरीके से करता है. उसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि my sustainability is the only way to do it. Um, in our generation, we have worn our siblings' clothes. She also does it. It's sustainability only, no? We our shoes get broken, then we go get them fixed at the local cobbler. That is also sustainability. काय तो तिकडे आहे का बघ बरं. बाबाला बहुतेक सापडलं. Now she's very keen. So so that is there.
That's true. But zero waste living, when you say, people were using their own water bottles earlier, मतलब मटका और घड़ा और वो सब यूज होता था. बट अभी अगर आप कहीं बाहर जा रहे हो एंड just why do we have to carry a bottle? Just buy, na, it's available. Just buy the bottle. It will be recycled into something, into a bag, into a tea, into something. So people are willing to spend money and investing.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is important. हो येते. Yeah, now उसका time शुरू हो गया. So she's all like, your Wednesdays for waste warriors and all that is fine. But it is 6:30. This is now you and me time. Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. So I think the key piece also is to realize that our lives are not governed by a 5 kilometer radius anymore. Something is getting produced in China, which is coming. Just the fact that we're speaking on a China manufactured phone is something. But we have to keep closing that circular loop, and it's very, very important that we push for it. Unless we ask for it, it will not happen. That's also very clear to me.
Yeah.
Unless you ask local governments, unless you ask producers, fellow consumers, it's a long work, but it's going to happen.
That's true.
Yeah.
We will keep on. And let anyone has any questions, ask. Otherwise, we have the chief guest who's demanding Hansa's
absolutely.
attention.
And it's very interesting attention.
So I know that Rajkumari joined from Manipur, and she was wanted to learn about composting. And everywhere we can't say that this is a pristine location or a place. कचरा तो हर जगह पहुंच गया, माउंट एवरेस्ट से लेकर deepest of the sea. So I guess to reduce is what is the best first option. And then आजकल जो 5R होते थे उसमें आजकल 6R and 7R भी join हो गया है. When they say R for rot, that is the composting. So yes. So there are more questions, but then we can ask again, because now you have to go and attend to important things.
No, it's a fun thing.
That's a mom's role. So thank you so much. And if you want to tell people how to get in touch with you or your website, you can type in, or we
Yeah,
already
yeah,
know
I'll
how to
just
get in
type
touch
in.
with you.
I'll just type in. So
Most
people can just connect with me on my Instagram handle, or they could look us up on Pro or Tico, and we are there.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay, on that note, I
yeah.
think I will sign off to go have fun after having saved the planet for the day. Bye, Anuja.
Okay, okay.
Bye. Yes. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you for sharing your mama with us. Bye bye. Okay, and if you guys have some questions, you can ask. So on composting, let me tell you that we have many more people who are expert composters, and some I know in Pune. There are some in other cities as well. So we want to get everyone on this platform, so you can ask your question, you can listen to everyone. Their styles may be different, their perspectives will be different, where they live. Some are doing it in the village. There are farmers who are doing it in gobar gas, biogas form. So composting has various formats, and you know not there's no one formula that it works for me, and it'll work for your system. So it'll be great that you keep continuing to join us and listen to these conversations every Wednesday at 6 p.m. And do connect with us on our you know we are where my waste my responsibility is on Instagram, is on Twitter, is on Facebook, and we are also on LinkedIn today onwards. So you all can connect, send your question, and if you know any expert who would like to be part of this, we will be happy to invite them and have a chat with them. Thank you very much. And that's Shefali from Nagpur. Thank you, Shefali, for joining. And I think Harmeet is from Delhi. So, it's really good that we have members from all over the country, and they keep joining and they keep sharing. So this week we would, yeah, Mano says we would like composting from village people. So yes, we will do that. We also have Dr. Pranay Jadhav. I think he's joined this session, and he's in a village. So the village way of composting is a little different and more rustic. And of course, like the fancy equipment and the stuff, they don't buy that. And I would say I also don't feel the need of buying any composter. The plastic buckets are very good enough. Um, so you guys can start in a plastic bucket, or even in that curd 1 liter curd bucket, or any small thing you can start. And the basic thing is that you put like my mom tells me, you put some stones in the base, or a broken clay pot on the base, and then you put a little soil, and on top of it you can put your compost, and then some dry leaves from your garden, and then one more layer of uh, as you put your wet waste, you will keep adding a little bit of soil and a little bit of dry leaves. And if it should not be absolutely dry, so in between you can sprinkle some water. You can even sprinkle you know charge or buttermilk. You can even sprinkle that, your leftover curd. So all these organic things from kitchen, when people think, can I put this in the compost, can I put that in the compost, I guess we will have our next guest who can tell you what exactly can you put in your compost. So stay tuned. Really nice fun session we had. Thank you for joining. Bye, take care.